The Oldest View is the newest series by Kane Pixels, and Kane Pixels is the guy who made the original Backrooms found footage videos, so you know it's gonna be good. And since it's probably gonna be a while until the next drop of any Backrooms content from him, he gave us something pretty cool to chew on. I don't really know if it's set in the same universe or not, but what I do know is that it's pretty good. It's pretty spooky. The horror and suspense it creates is kind of insane. Even after multiple rewatches, it's pretty scary to rewatch, and it's pretty tense, scary. I don't know how he managed that, but it's just such a good horror thing. And after, again, rewatching it more than once, you learn and see more things every single time. It could be something super small, or it could be something that completely recontextualizes what you thought of it originally. It's pretty cool. I recommend watching the original series if you haven't already, and I guess with all that being said, I could get into, like, you know, talking about the episodes.
When the summer days are gone, when the roses fade and die, and no more is heard the song of the night.
The video starts with a shot of flowers in a forest. A guy who is for the moment unnamed walks into frame and picks the flowers, and sniffs them. The sound of thunder can be clearly heard. The man finds a log over a small river and sits down. He begins to read a book that we can't see the name of. We get a transition to a montage of presumably the same man building something. We get a short view of some sketches, and we get a perspective shot from inside the mask. It makes the mask feel alive. Notice the red drop of something on the table. The video ends with a final shot of the mask.
I think he keeps going away. I see something shining.
The video starts with a shot of the top of trees, with what at first seems to be a lot of thunder, but in actuality is a hint at something that we'll see later on. We are introduced to a character named Wyatt. He seems to be filming a video. He talks about how he found this spot far into private property. He mentions something about a secret tunnel that he wants to show his internet buddies. Him saying internet buddies might mean a friend group, or he's talking about his audience. Not exactly too important of a point, but if it's talking about friend group, we might have gotten a hint on who will follow next. After what he says has been an hour and a 45-minute trek, he finds the spot. A large hole can be seen, with a staircase inside of it leading down what seems like an infinite number of stairs. Wyatt peeks his camera down the hole before jumping down. He mentions how the stairs seem like they used to go up further, and how the lights being on means that there's still something active here. Wyatt begins his descent down the stairs. He mentions how he's been down this tunnel before, but he left so he could make room on his phone to record more. He mentions how he doesn't hear anyone, but with the lights being on, it gives the impression that he probably isn't alone. He turns a corner to see even more stairs. He decides to throw a ball down the stairs to see how far down they go, which seems just to keep going. He mentions how once again he's on edge, that he might run into somebody. These stairs seem a bit different from the set he just walked down, the square indents in the walls and a lot of lights being off. Wyatt mentions how it's been raining for the past 2 to 3 weeks, and how the tunnel being dry is weird. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. He says it might be because the entrance is on top of a hill and under a tree, but water would still probably slip in. He mentions how it's starting to get cold. He reaches a point where all the lights are off. He says that he can see something shiny down the hole. He also mentions how it smells like cut grass. Chlorophyll, right? Which again adds another thing that doesn't make sense with these stairs. We get a glimpse back up the stairs and we can see how far Wyatt just walked. We get a panning shot of the door, which looks old and decayed. Wyatt enters a room that looks kind of like a shower or something, with a tiled floor and drains. He hears music in the distance. Only seemingly making him more stressed, as someone being here is even more likely. He peeks through the bars into the next room where you can see what looks like a receptionist desk. He mentions once again he's not supposed to be here. We can see the entrance to what looks like a shopping mall. He mentions how he isn't sure if he can even post this on YouTube. The video ends abruptly.
Another studio. It's like these are all art studios. Is that an octopus? What is that? Yeah, it's an octopus. Big painting. Oh.
The video begins with another shot of a forest, with the same green-gray color grading from Renewal. What sounds like screaming can be heard. Cut back to White, recapping the last video. He also talks about how he took advice from a commenter and got trail cameras from his botany professor. White said after setting them up and waiting a while, he saw nothing on any of them. But as a viewer, we can take note of something that he probably thought was insignificant, and it might actually be. I might be overthinking this a little bit, because I originally thought this flower was the same one for Renewal, but it's not, I don't think. So, why did I include any of this? I don't know. In the first trail cam picture, we can see a flower. In the second trail cam picture, it disappears. Also, he mentions something weird glitches. Pictures of nothing moving grass. I don't really have much knowledge on how trail cams work and all that, but I still think it's a weird thing to bring up. He draws importance to this. Wyatt mentions in his voiceover that he thinks this place is devoid of life. We get a panning shot of a tree where the tunnel sits. If you pay close enough attention, you can notice something odd, something red near the tree. Wyatt makes it back to the tree and mentions how the hole looks unchanged, which it isn't. Comparing the previous video to this video, the hole looks bigger, and the red thing on the side of the tree is new. Something has changed for some reason. The hole can be bigger because Wyatt did go down there a couple times to place out a trail camera, but it looking like that, it looks different. I don't know if this is too important, might not be. Continuing on. When he makes his way into the hole, he mentions how one of the lights went out. Definitely something odd, but something that seems, again, insignificant. He mentions how he hasn't shared any information on where this is. After making it back to where he ended the last video, he slowly makes his way to the gate that closed off his entrance to the mall originally. He opens the gate slowly, trying not to make a loud noise, but suddenly the gate forces itself open with a loud noise, causing him to run back to the stairs in a panic. He waits a second to see if someone comes or not, which no one does, so he begins to explore the mall. Some exploring later, he finds a poster that talks about oversized giants, with one particular giant shown. He walks up further to some railing. He starts talking about an octopus painting he can see in the distance. The painting seems to distract him from something lingering on the right side of his camera. He realizes the giant is staring at him from across the railing. He walks up closer to the giant and then says out loud, "I don't like this thing." And then a low buzzing sound can be heard in the distance. Music starts playing. He turns his back on the giant and goes to the lights that turned on. He mentions how he thinks he just saw someone. He makes his way back to the stairs he entered through, only to find them caved in. His exit is gone. He is now trapped. He now goes back to the mall hoping to find an exit. It seems there isn't one, as the exit to Preston Road is blocked off with stone. He makes his way back to where he first saw the giant, only to find the giant is now missing. We know he didn't go the wrong way or something because the octopus painting in the background confirms his location. He starts exploring more, when thunder can be heard. The thunder signals lights to be turned off in the distance. He looks up, maybe to see if the lights above him are going to turn off, or if there's a speaker system above him. And as he starts to pan the camera down to look ahead of him, we can see the giant. It seems to be staring at him. We begin to walk towards the giant. We can notice it's slowly moving backwards, disappearing out of view. When he goes to where he was just standing, it has disappeared completely. He looks at the floor plans, when he turns around to notice a large hole in the wall. He decides not to get a closer look at the hole and walks away. He walks into a room with a bright white skylight. He notices a room closed off. He looks through the bars to see what looks like a forest. Birds can be heard in the distance. If you pay close enough attention, you can notice a face in the top right fade away as he approaches the room. As he tries to get a better look in the room, what sounds like a metallic and high-pitched scream can be heard in the distance. Wyatt says he thinks it might be an elevator. As he goes to look where the sound came from, he hears something rolling towards him from behind. He turns around quickly to see the giant. He walks up to the giant to get a better look at it. He begins to walk away, turning around for only a second. The giant begins to roll towards him once again. Wyatt turns around quickly, and the giant stops in his place. Wyatt says out loud, "I'm leaving," trying to leave. As he gets some distance from the giant, I think Wyatt says there's something controlling it, or someone controlling it. Thunder can be heard again as the lights flicker. Wyatt looks away for only a second, and the giant has gained lots of ground in an instant, an unnatural amount of progress. Thunder can be heard again. Wyatt peeks for only a second, and the giant begins to rush towards him, this time not stopping when looked at. Wyatt escaped onto an escalator. The giant pauses for a second, then it turns around, showing us two red ribbons on its back. It begins to roll away. Thunder can be heard again. When the giant seems far enough away, Wyatt runs for what might be an exit, and of course, it's blocked up with stone. The giant begins to catch up to Wyatt. Wyatt breaks into a room and escapes to some hallways. Something to take note of. The giant breaks the glass and continues to chase him, only for a moment before pausing and letting him get away. The giant being able to break through the glass does not make much sense. It looks like it's made out of cardboard and cloth. It being able to do something like this is completely unnatural. Wyatt hides in a room for a bit before re-entering the mall. He sneaks around a bit before stumbling onto what looks like floor plans and maps of the mall. As he approaches another table, we can notice the ribbons of the giant poking through a pillar. He finds a paper detailing safety protocols. He also finds a way to escape. This time when he re-enters the mall, everything looks overrun with plants. He looks up to see a hall bathed in an orange light. He approaches the escalators that lead him higher. He makes a run for the escalators, only to be stopped by the giant. As he runs away to another escalator, lights turn on to reveal what looks like more giants. He makes it up the escalator to notice the elevator is out of order. He sees a sign saying rooftop exit. He looks back to the escalator to notice the giant using the escalator. As the giant makes it to the top, 2 walls fall in. Wyatt yells, "What do you want?" Lights flicker. For a moment, dead horses and people can be seen, before promptly disappearing. The giant turns to its right, almost pointing at Wyatt or looking at the mall, almost like it's answering Wyatt's question. The giant charges at Wyatt, breaking the stairs and cracking the wall. Wyatt starts making his way to an exit. Looking back, the mall's lights have all been turned on. Dead horses and people fill the floor. Wyatt looks back to notice the giant starts to move for only a second. As Wyatt gets closer to the exit, he looks back to notice that the top half of the giant has disappeared. Something happens. Wyatt begins to scream as the camera falls to the floor. The video cuts to a shot of the forest in a green-gray color grading, the same color grading from Renewal. A sudden cut to show Wyatt's body sprawled out in the dirt. Wyatt's color seems to fade to gray. The video cuts to show Wyatt's face, motionless. The final shot shows the giant staring back at the camera, almost taunting the viewer. I can finally stop doing the generic 2-sentence horror stories voice. Smiley face. I left out a lot for my short recaps of all the videos, so I'd recommend going to watch them yourself. I did include everything I thought would be most important, but like, I don't know, I'm probably gonna bring up more stuff that I forgot to mention. First off, the giant's a real thing in real life. Not the spooky, scary monster version, but I mean like it's an actual art piece. So is the mall. Kane was inspired by a liminal picture of the giant, I think. I heard that somewhere, so I must peddle it as true. Completely factual. Because of this, we can look into real life for information pertaining to TOV. The giant is supposed to be a model of Julian Reverchon, which, putting these 2 images side by side, I guess I can kind of see it? Well, be honest with you, the resemblance is uncanny. Julian was a botanist, and a pretty good one. He taught botany at the end of his life in Dallas, Texas. The man we see in Renewal is Julian Reverchon. We can confirm this by looking at the IMDb page, I think. Julian Reverchon is played by Dustin Vaught, and apparently Dustin played in a movie called The Fuzzies. I got curious, I tried to look more into The Fuzzies, and I found that the film is really obscure. The Fuzzies was a film created by Josh Funk. It's a surrealist comedy horror film that seems to take place in a single room. The synopsis of the film is a man wakes up locked in a strange bathroom where something is lurking behind the walls. It incorporates live action and stop motion. It also has puppets. I haven't found much with the puppets besides some like behind the scenes like pictures and videos and stuff, because like the actual short film itself is completely odd, like not on the internet. I can't find it. The Fuzzies has a website and it's really wacky and super simplistic. The official trailer is there and it has some screening dates, behind the scenes stuff, and everything you expect, but like I don't know, I just want to watch the actual short. Josh Funk has made some really cool things. He also has his own website, and some of the things he's made there are really interesting. He seems to excel at making stop-motion surreal art projects. I really want to watch this film now. The trailer interested me, then I found the other things the creator of The Fuzzies made. I watched the one interview with him. If someone finds this film or has the film, please, for the love of God, let me watch it. I'm too intrigued.
I was inspired to make this movie because I had just finished an experimental animation called Dark Ride. Where I was dealing with these people who occupied this one room, but all of these really unusual things were happening in it. When I went to make The Fuzzies, I was thinking of, what could I do with a space that would be kind of push that even farther? And I had access to this amazing bathroom.
Wait, what was this video about again? Oh yeah! The oldest view. Oh my! Let's get back to that, my bad. We can see Julian making the giant in Renewal, which is odd, because the giant was actually made by Kevin Obregon. I think I pronounced that correctly. No, I don't know.
Kevin Obregon.
He also made the octopus mural. Oh. He also made the octopus. Oh my god. He also made the octopus mural, where we first see the giant. Cool, right? I had to like slow that one down because I had trouble saying it. Anyways, I'm assuming that the oldest view takes place in an alternate universe to our own. In this universe, Julian Reverchon made the statue. If this takes place in an alternate universe or something, that means Kane could have changed anything about real life lore. Wyatt acts confused about the mall the entire time he's in it, like he doesn't know anything about it. He did an internet deep dive apparently, but found nothing about the mall.
Maybe he didn't have enough information, I don't know. If you go off the idea that the mall shouldn't exist where Wyatt is, then we can guess the mall is supernatural, if that wasn't obvious already. The mall we see Wyatt go into is a real mall located in Dallas, Texas. The mall was slated for demolition in 2023, at about the same time Wyatt started exploring the mysterious hole. So is the mall that Wyatt goes into the same mall? Did the mall move? Wyatt never says where he is. He might be in Texas or he might be somewhere else. This thinking led me down to asking where Renewal took place. It made me realize that Wyatt's body didn't end up outside the hole where he first entered. He died in the same forest we saw Julian. How did Wyatt end up there? Why is the giant's head only shown? Speaking of the giant, what is the giant? Why does the giant's cue seem to be thunder? Whenever we see the giant or it do something to signal its presence, it's with thunder. Was it following Wyatt the entire time during the third video? It seems to react to Wyatt and act alive. It also seemingly answers Wyatt's question of what do you want? It also somehow stops him from leaving. We can see dead horses and people appear for a second for some reason. We can also see the giant come apart, with its upper half disconnecting from its lower half. And with Wyatt seeing some humanoid before, does that mean the giant isn't actually alive but it's being controlled? We can see more giants at the end of the third video when Wyatt is running to the escalator. Does that mean that all these giants are alive like FNAF style? Or are these just to scare the living shit out of Wyatt? Is the mall itself controlling the giants? Also, how come the mall gets all of a sudden really like run down and overgrown plants? The one plant symbol we see often is a plant that was found by Julian Reverchon in real life. But why is it always highlighted? Why is there a staircase that leads to a mall? Why is everything in the hall so low tech? Or old and worn down, but the mall is like perfectly pristine? How come the stairs were completely dry? Why did it smell like cut grass? Why is there a hole in the first place? Clearly, there are a ton of unanswered questions. I honestly don't think I would be able to explain any of it, really, because I'm not smart. But I can make a wacky theory. I can do that, but I don't want to. I think things we can take note of so far are nature plays a big role. Thunder, for some reason, is connected to the giant or the mall or even Julian. The giant can move in more ways than one. The mall is clearly trying to kill or toy with Wyatt. Wyatt mentions how he thinks he saw someone, which can imply a lot. Real life lore has been changed in Tuv. We don't really know what happened to Wyatt. There's more than one exit and entrance to the mall, and I think that's about it. I don't know. There's more things you can take note of course, but like, I feel like these are pretty important things. I think, probably. There are so many different ideas we can go down. Like, what is actually in control? Is the mall controlling everything, or does the giant have a will of its own? Going down the path of the mall controlling everything, it makes the mall seem like it's out for revenge. There's the idea of it hating humanity for them destroying it or something, which I didn't fully buy into, but watching videos of what actually happened in the mall in real life makes me think otherwise. Fires were started in the mall, almost all the glass was shattered, people looted everything they could find in the mall, and the giant's top half was literally dissolved in acid. When we look at where the mall was before demolition, it looked horrible. If the mall wanted revenge, it has good reason to want that revenge. That could explain why the mall was toying with Wyatt for about an hour before killing him. There's also the idea of the mall not wanting to rot, which is a super interesting idea. Nature plays a big role in Tuv, but why? What is something that's considered most natural? Death. Dying. Dying is something that we will all one day experience, but the mall? It didn't already experience its death? It was demolished, wasn't it? Why does it still exist? With Wyatt getting his colors sucked out of him, it makes me curious as to why Kane chose to include this scene. Does the mall need to kill people to keep itself alive? This point might be supported by Renewal with the mysterious red drop, but this might be a stretch. Then again, I think Kane said on the Wendigoon livestream that this was not supposed to be as, like, thriller. This is supposed to be more horror. So if he wanted to go something that was a bit more spooky, I think the mall having to kill people to survive is pretty spooky. It's simple and spooky. But then again, I don't know. Kane is a pretty smart, creative person, so he could have really done anything he wanted with this. He could have done something completely different. The colors getting sucked could mean something completely different. I don't know. When the giant points to Wyatt at the end of episode 3, does this mean that he's doing all this just to kill him? This makes the mall look really sadistic. Is the mall just bored and want to play God, or what about going down the path of the giant being the sole thing to control the mall? We see Julian build the giant, and with a single drop of a mysterious red substance and the perspective shot, it implies the giant is alive. What if the giant was the thing playing God? Actually, what even is the giant? We see the top of the giant go missing, and we hear it bash down the glass in an unnatural way. Wyatt seeing a humanoid figure before the giant starts to move on its own can imply that the giant itself isn't actually alive, but there's something with a humanoid figure controlling the giant, which can explain maybe how come we see something that is gated off in the room and then the giant reveals itself. Actually, wait a second, how did the giant disappear in the first place? With the mall changing into the foresty, overgrown version of itself, does that mean the mall can alter its appearance? Maybe that explains how the giant can not only hide itself, but also how the mall seemingly changes into its overgrown version of itself. Maybe the overgrown version of itself is its true version, and Wyatt got there just in time to see it. Something I noticed at the end of the third video is where Wyatt's body sat. He wasn't outside the hole or something. He looked like he was in the forest that we saw Julian and Renewal. How did he get there? I mean, with there being a lot of different exits and entrances to the mall, that might imply that one of the exits or entrances we see might actually lead to that same forest. And that could lead down the idea that there is so many different like paths around the world that leads into this hole. That is like wacky and weird. Can holes just appear anywhere? Or are there more? The stairs are incredibly different to the mall. The contrast between the mall and the stairs makes me incredibly curious. Also, the stairs go far underground. I mean, like, insanely far. Who made the stairs? What was the point of the one old gross looking room before the mall? It makes me wonder why the stairs exist in the first place. What was the point of the stairs? I was debating on making a wild theory about the giant and what it is, but I chose not to. I still might do if Kane releases more tough videos, so maybe expect part 2 of this video if that ever happens, but I made this video to specifically ask questions and analyze, because I'm not too good at using my brain to actually answer the questions I pose. Also, I think it's more fun for you to come up with your own answers, even if that's kind of an excuse to explain my laziness. Oh, and go watch the Otis View, please. Even if you have already, just go do it again. There's so many little things you can notice. There's things that I probably missed. It's so well made. It's so good. And find me a way to watch the Fuzzies, please, I beg!
Places that feel relatable, but they're not. They're kind of different. They're gone for some reason. Kane said on Discord, "That's exactly how I feel about this project. There's all sorts of hidden meanings and themes, but really the initial spawning point of this project was just me wanting to replicate the feeling I got while researching the giant for the first time." Yeah. That I see that. That tracks. I've had moments similar to that, in that I see something horror related, monster related, whatever, and I'm like, oh, that's fascinating, I want to look into it, and then I kind of trace it back, if that makes sense, and I see like, oh, this was inspired by this person, that was inspired by this person, and eventually it's like it began from someone who's no longer around, who never got to see any of it. And I'm walking through a ghost town of legacies. All these different people who had no connection to what came after them, but it's now mounted into something else. What does that mean for the legacies? What's that mean for what's came before? It's sobering almost, you know? Like everything's temporary, but at the same time it isn't, you know? Like sure the botanist was temporary. But now he's this. Now he's become this. Something so different from, you know, a botanist, what the botanist was in the first place. But this series doesn't exist without him. He is the reason that the Rolling Giant is here. But it's through a series of channels that he could never have even imagined, never could have aspired to be. It's a liminal existence, in a sense.